Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
Welcome to Dig on America, where we speak truth to power. Every week, we give you the dig on how American history, policies, and media created the social and political issues we face today. DOA is independent media supported by listeners, but they'll tell you we're just fake news, deep state propaganda, funded by George Soros, the Clinton Foundation, BLM Marxists, and
Admiral Akbar.
Cyber Scream.
What the hell
is it?
Come on, gotta think
you
on
mean
your feet.
Starscream?
Thanos.
There you go.
Thanos.
Thanos is back again. He's contributed once or twice before. Dino,
You want to throw it? Who else is sponsoring us today?
Ducks wearing combat boots.
Obviously.
That would be Darkwing Duck. Okay, gotcha.
There you go.
Oh, that is one of the greatest intros to a cartoon that there ever was.
When there's trouble, you come on, you got to finish it.
When there's
trouble, you call DW.
Oh,
Man.
Yeah, Darkwing
let's
Duck.
get deep.
You got to be a
Danger.
special kind of geek to remember that.
That I am.
Darkwing Duck.
Welcome in everybody to Dig on America. This is Jason Dutch. I am here with this handsome lad, Han Solo himself, the Black Han Solo, Michelangelo Famigny Ding Dong.
Thank you, wifey, for the t-shirt. I won the t-shirt competition of the day. Good job.
Now you got to get a Patrick Swayze one that just says Ditto, so that whenever she wears hers, you can.
I wasn't a
you
big
always have to reply.
Swayze. I was never a big Swayze fan. Like
The Swayze is a good guy. I like the
he's fine, but you know what? I saw Donnie Darko before I saw a lot of the other movies, so he's always had a creepy vibe to me because remember he was like the cult leader in Donnie Darko.
Kinda. It's been a long time.
Where there's like, don't let fear control your life.
Control your life.
I'm not afraid anymore, and like that whole like those little. And so that was like Patrick Swayze was like the head of that cult or whatever, and they found like kid porn in his shit. So like I it's nothing against Patrick Swayze, but he like weirded me out a little bit because he like did it too well.
In rap culture, I'm Swayze. Means
I gotta go.
I'm cool. So goodbye.
Ooh.
He doesn't like when I know more about rap culture than he does. Anyway, with us today, we have a couple of cool guests for your listening pleasure. So we'll start from right below me. He is host of the Breaking Barriers, I guess you'd call it channel on Twitter Spaces.
Mm-hmm.
The incomparable, I call him Dino, but his real name is Dino Moore. What's up, Dino?
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey,
There are two black guys on the program, so you know people are gonna think it's a riot.
Well, there'll be three when our other co-host gets here. So absolutely will be we're Antifa shills for sure.
Exactly.
And if that weren't enough, we throw a young Turks host into this as well. So welcome to the show, Ben Carollo, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, from TYT. Welcome in.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
The third player from TYT to be here. The other two, as you've probably seen, Jenk is currently getting ready to fire Ivana and Jackson White because of their association with this show. Mm-hmm. So you can look for your resignation letter to be turned in very, very shortly. Oh, and you know what? Speaking of Young Turks, JR on Twitter challenged me to get this guy. So I got him, and I'm going to call him Mini JR.
Oh my God,
Mini Jacks, I'll call him. So this is if you hear the motor, I'm holding up one of those little blowing, waving guys. So
the wacky waving inflatable arm.
This is the equivalent for adults of Elf on the Shelf. So
no, you know what that is? That's a bunch of Gen Z lava lamps is what that is. That's the Gen Z lava lamp.
Mikey, he likes you. Hi, Mikey. How are you?
What is this? I don't like it. Thanks, I hate it.
He's coming into your dreams. All right,
he's not.
I'm just seeing Better Call Saul when I see that. That's
We'll throw mini. JR Junior. That's what I'm gonna call him. JR squared. All right. So we'll throw JR squared to the side. So, but let's get to know our guests real quick. So I went with Dino first last time. We'll go with Ben first this time. Tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess, like probably one of the more surprising facts about me that people learn is the fact that I'm a veteran. So let's rip that Band-Aid off right now. I was in the military for 8 years, and as a trans communist, a lot of people really are kind of very surprised by that. So I was in military intelligence for like 4 years, and then I was cybersecurity for 4 years. But now I do the news. I obviously do a lot of stuff with TYT, especially on like Rebel headquarters. And I have my own show, Bleep Blomp Ben, on Twitch. And that's basically where I'm spending a lot of my time doing a combination of like covering news, covering a lot of political philosophy stuff, and a lot of like organizing stuff. I used to be a lot more involved in organizing. I ran some congressional campaigns, a state senate campaign, and ran for office myself a couple of times. And did like a bunch of mutual aid work. So really, I just sort of approach politics from the sort of materialist perspective of like, how to meet people's needs, how to get involved, how to get organized, and then, the general sort of strokes of like politics in general.
Which branch of the military were you in?
Air Force.
Air Force.
That's where the smart people go.
That's what they say.
That's where I enlisted. When I enlisted in the Air Force. There was no way I was going into any other branch of the military. Of course, the Air Force told me to go fuck myself, but we won't get into that.
You showed up.
2 times actually. Dino, hello.
Hello, how are you?
What's your story, brother?
Oh, my story would take way too long to tell, so I'm going to condense it. Like Ben, I was in the military. My time in the military ended when I was arrested for attempted murder in Washington, D.C., some many moons ago. And going to prison was the best thing that ever happened to me. My life began there. My life in film, which I work in now, began there. My life in college, the person who rescued me from prison paid for my college, my graduate school, and turned me from what I was into this geek you see here today. I run film festivals. I run the Atlanta 48-hour film project, and I'm on the boards of several other film festivals, and I work as a writer currently. And of course, I do Breaking Barriers, which in my lifetime, I've seen the world divide and split, and unfortunately it's split mostly along racial lines.
Mm-hmm.
And
what
yeah, it's crazy.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, but the thing about it is, like, when I became a parent, I'm a father of a child who's on the spectrum, and it took me being his parent to be tested myself and found that I was on the spectrum, and it explained a lot about why growing up for me was difficult. Mm-hmm. I pay attention, and my autistic gift is perception. And I realized we have a lot more in common than we do that differentiates us. And there's a reason why we're divided. It's by a plan, why we're divided. And so I chose to start a platform breaking down those barriers so we can point out that we're more alike than we are different. And only through honest, open conversation can those barriers be overcome.
That sounds great. Unfortunately, it's so controversial. It drove Mikey from the show. He was like, he said, "I can't deal with this inclusion bullshit." He's out. So
he ran away screaming. I heard him with a silent scream.
So are you now? You said you have a son on the spectrum. Was it a son?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I have my 5-year-old is nonverbal autistic, so I know exactly not exactly what you're going through, because it's always different, but I probably have some idea of the day-to-day struggle. Let's put it that way. So
yeah, I would guess your struggle is much more difficult than mine. My son has Asperger's syndrome, as I do, and
Okay.
so he's what they call high functioning. But you learn that communication, especially with a nonverbal child, it's more difficult until you learn their language. And I have many friends who have nonverbal children, and they speak an entirely different language. It's like 'cause I do sign language. One of my degrees is in deaf education, so I used to teach at a school for the deaf. You learn that they're speaking, but you just don't know their language.
Right.
And once you learn it, things become much easier.
That's very true. There's some pretty amazing ways that autistic kids have been able to find ways to communicate, be it through color or, sound, hand motions, and it's pretty amazing how in depth there are. And like when you see where my son's specialties lie, and he just doesn't like sound. Basically, he's like, get that sound the hell away from me. So,
is it like overwhelming?
Yeah, it's definitely overwhelming. Like we took him to so like he loves. It's interesting. So he loves light, right? Like he loves light. We brought him to the shed, and they actually kicked us out because
you have to explain what the shed is. Everybody,
the shed aquarium in Chicago when we were visiting Chicago. So like
I just took him out to the shed.
Yeah, I took him out to the shed.
In the shed. Like, come on, that's
you know how the lights shine in through. I don't know if if it's like this at every aquarium, but the shed aquarium has a lot of outdoor areas that you can look from the inside to the animals that are outside. So therefore, the sun shines through the big ceiling, ceiling high windows, and you get a lot of light on the ground, and it's sort of rippling and it looks like water. So he loves that. So we were like, oh, okay, let's bring him to this laser show where they're going to play Christmas music. Nope, not a good idea. Hated it. Sat in the car the whole time. Wanted to sit on my phone and sat there like he'll sit like this with his hands over his ears all the time. Yeah, it's just too much for him. And like my other son's loving it, so I'm like sitting in the car with him with my hands over his ears, trying to make it as quiet as possible, so that it's challenging sometimes. But when he finds something he likes, he goes for it. So, but with that being said, let's get into the show. We'll start with our first game, which is 4 down territory. So let me call an audible here. 15 Jacksonville, Omaha, sit. He hates that. Dog barks out the audible as well. So what we will do with this is I will ask you both 4 questions. You'll give us both 4 answers. These will just be simple things, so you can give a 1-minute answer or a 1-second answer. It doesn't really matter. So we'll start right below me again with Dino. So Dino, I'm going to start you with super low-hanging fruit. Your favorite Saturday morning cartoon character. I have a feeling I know the answer.
Dino from the Flintstones.
And that cat will stay out for the night. So is that just because of the name thing, or did you change your name because you love him so much?
I changed my name. My name is Demetrius. My government, my GUB mint is Demetrius Moore. But I had asthma when I was a child, and I used to cough like
the meat man.
And my
brother, you meat man?
They didn't do that and live. No. But my brother named me Dino, and it's my oldest brother Tony called me Dino, and it's stuck. We have very like Greek names. My brother is Quentin Augustus, and there's Antonios, and there's me Demetrius. We're like very Greek.
Y'all are about to be some Spartans.
Exactly.
Are you doing both questions for
however you want to do it? Yeah, let's do Dino first, and then we'll go to Ben after that.
Okay. Best midnight snack.
Ramen noodles with eggs. That's a prison thing too. It's weird. I picked that up in prison and never let it go. Like it's weird. I'm making a pot right now, as a matter of fact. I do. I do. And I'm making a pot as we speak.
That's like I always tell one of my homies has been locked up is if ramen come up, that just crunch that whole
break it. Yeah. Exactly. It's weird, but yeah, I love it.
What's up, everybody in the chat? So Ben, we'll let you ask a silly question of Dino, but be nice because he'll ask you one back.
Oh, a silly question? Oh God, I don't even know.
Well, it could be any. It could be anything.
Oh my God. Oh no, I'm really on the spot. I'm really bad at asking questions. Okay, actually, this will be just a yes or no question. Okay, but do you think that chicken nuggets taste better when they're in dinosaur shapes?
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh,
You know,
that
this
is
is
a
where you
deep
come
philosophical ask.
This is where you come for the hard-hitting, life-changing questions, right?
I'll tell you why I don't think they do. Because when they put them in the dinosaur shapes, they probably make them out of some kind of vegetable and trying to sneak it in on me, and I don't like that. That's a little bit creepy. So no,
the cauliflower bullshit that they're trying to sneak in on us.
Hey, I like
exactly.
that stuff.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm with Dino on this. I
I
don't
like that
appreciate them.
stuff.
I eat my vegetables. I'm a grown
Screw
ass man.
you,
Exactly.
screw you, and screw you. I love that cauliflower
I
stuff.
got high as shit and got the
Same.
munchies yesterday and made a salad. Okay, I know how to eat vegetables. Don't be sneaking fucking veggies into my goddamn food.
Exactly.
I don't appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
I
Shit ain't
prefer
right.
vegetables when they're snuck into a nugget, to be entirely honest. My fiance just got me dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets that do, in fact, have vegetables weaseled into them.
So there it is. I knew it. I knew it.
Confirmed.
The conspiracy is
Confirmed.
out there now, Dino. So you're good to go. All right, so I'll take the last question here, and then we'll give Mikey 2 next time. So we went with the Saturday morning cartoon theme. So what we'll do now, let's go with current. So what is your guilty pleasure right now as far as streaming? Would it be, do you go for like the DC, the Marvel, the Star Wars, the Star Trek? What's your guilty pleasure?
Okay. My wife is always watching, like right now she's watching this show called Clarence. And it's a cartoon, this kid, and it's Quawens, he's got like teeth missing, and he's like it's just the weirdest little kid, but he's so much fun. And if you haven't watched it, you gotta watch Clarence, because he's got a best friend named Sumo who's got a bald head, and he hangs out with Jeff and Sumo, and they're middle schoolers who cause havoc in this little Arizona town. And it's extremely funny. It's either that or my wife watches, like, she doesn't differentiate programs, so it's that, The Office, or Psych. Like,
I love Psych.
every night we sleep to it. So
Yep,
that's what I'm
Very
watching.
nice. I guess Kendrick Lamar in the chat again today. You watching that with you.
Big K Dot.
K Dizzle, what's up, K Dizzle? All right, where is everybody in the chat today? Get in the chat, you motherfuckers. All
That'll
right, by
get
the
him
way,
in here.
you can swear, as I just showed you on the show. All right, Mikey, why don't you start it off with Ben?
All right, Ben. Your favorite flavor MRE?
Oh God.
Everyone who I've ever
Hi,
asked this
Marissa. What's up? My friend Marissa from Twitter. She's awesome. Hello.
everybody answers the same thing to this, and I'm wondering if your answer is going to be the same. And Dino, you can answer this too.
I'm trying to remember if I literally don't even remember, like, those MREs. They're a fever dream. MREs aren't real, right? It's like when you're eating an MRE, you're in like a parallel universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that there was an attempt at some sort of like meatball something. Maybe it was like an attempt at like ravioli. I have no idea, but it was just like
It's the pasta
like,
one. It's the pasta
like,
with the red sauce, right?
And
it was a ball.
like it's like, I feel like it's an insult to call it pasta, but it is like reminiscent of, it's the La Croix of pasta.
Yeah,
right?
Pasta-ish.
And yeah, it has
pasta like
reminiscent of yeah.
Is this bringing back bad memories, Dino?
Everybody
And so I guess
loves
that's the most
MREs.
tolerable. That's the most tolerable. I don't know. Like, the only good thing in MREs are M&Ms. Like, that's it. Like, that's it.
That's why that's why I love these people who just order at bulk from like My Patriot Supply, because if the
They do
bulk
not
up for
want
the
that
end of the
shit.
world. Oh, I can't wait to eat these steaks when everyone else is dying in the zombie apocalypse or in the COVID apocalypse, whichever comes first.
Like, okay, those people are not going to be well. Like, I don't know if you know this. Like, this is just a random side fact, but the military actually did like an experiment where they fed somebody nothing but MREs for like 2 months. Like, just a couple weeks in, he had to go to the hospital because he couldn't go to the bathroom. Like, he was in the hospital. He was in the hospital. You are not surviving if you are eating nothing but those MREs. Like, you're on a clock if you're eating nothing but MREs. Okay.
What about you, Dino? Because you were enlisted as well.
Well, I'm amazed to know that the Air Force even knows what MREs are. Like, that's like the Cadillac of military service. Like, I've been in a Air Force chow hall, and what they eat is gourmet. But I like the stewed beef. That was that was always, it's easier to make, and it's the closest thing to food. Actual food.
The closest thing to food.
The closest thing you can get. It's sort of like some of those Atkins snacks.
All right, Dutch.
All right. So if you, Dino, we're going to get
Ben.
an incredible waving man.
It's Ben's turn.
I'm sorry,
It's
Ben.
Ben's turn. There you go.
I know that. I knew that. I just was being an idiot. If you were going to get your incredible waving man, what name would you give it? Or have you given it if you already have one?
Gary. Probably Gary.
Just Gary, like SpongeBob?
Yeah. I feel like Gary is like it's kind of like Jerry in that like it's kind of one of those TV names where it's like really easy to yell at, right? Gary's always getting yelled at, right? And it's like, you know, like if I could see myself getting frustrated, be like, God damn it, Gary! Why?
Yeah, I meet someone named Gary, and I'm immediately irritated by them.
Yeah,
Gary.
Gary's always forgetting shit.
Harry Gary, come on.
Gary never remembers shit. He's always late.
Gary,
right.
quite contrary.
All right, Dino.
All right, Dino, why don't you go ahead and ask Ben a question?
Okay, choose a superpower, Ben.
Ooh.
Now, you can fly, but extremely slowly and only 2 feet off the ground. Or you can be invisible, but only down to your calves. The rest of you would show. Which would it be?
I don't know. I gotta take. Okay, so I gotta ask this: if I can fly but only 2 feet off the ground, what happens if I like fly across like a
gap?
Like a gap of
like the Grand Canyon? You'd fall all the way down and then stop 2 feet above and then continue. But you go really, really slow. Like it's just super slow. Like it's slower than someone's crippled grandmother.
Like the elevator
exactly.
he's like this.
I'll take the slow fly. But like the easy solution to this. Okay, you always play some sort of like very like, you know, like Rocky-esque sort of song, like you're building, like you're about to like Superman away, but you never do, right? Easy. You just constantly have the background music. Yeah.
Jonathan in the chat says, I was in the Navy on submarines. No shit. 2 of our culinary specialists got picked up for presidential detail. Those guys could make a 4-course meal from butter, flour, and hopes and dreams. Very well said.
They took thoughts and prayers and some Laurier seasoning salt.
Yeah, I'll
made
give
a
you
feast.
some hope. Give you my thoughts and prayers, and you can cook that up and make some eggs and ramen noodles with it.
There you go.
All right, Ben. Last question.
Yeah.
Who's your secret favorite band?
My secret favorite band? I don't know if this isn't a secret, but I love ABBA. ABBA hits every time. ABBA has never missed. Okay, and I will die on this hill.
Except when they missed. Anyway. Except all those misses.
I love music, and I was like, I can't go on this hill with him. I can't go with Ben here. I can't do it.
The funny thing is whenever I hear ABBA, and I know that because most of my that's from my parents' generation, but whenever I hear ABBA, my mind immediately just thinks of Ace of Base. I don't know why that is. Probably because they both start with A.
Probably because in like the old catalogs and stuff like that, ABBA and Ace of Base were right next to each other.
They possibly were. At Sam Goody, they were right next to each other.
Sam Goody.
Goody's got it.
At FYE.
Oh, man. I'll tell you what. I used to... Ben, you might be a little young for this. I don't know how old you are. But maybe you're not. I could spend hours inside of fucking Tower Records. Like I could walk into Tower Records and just be there for days on end. If they had camping gear, I would have slept there. That place was the shit.
I bought my very first cassette tape with my own money and my very first CD from Tower Records. And it was Michael Jackson's Off the Wall and Will Smith's Big Willie Style.
Okay. Well, that we'll remember that for when you go on to maybe Ben's show. He can ask you the question about Michael Jackson.
I'll never tell anyone that I bought
Did
Big
you
Willie
prefer
Style with my own allowance money.
Did you prefer white female Michael Jackson or black Michael Jackson?
Yo, Mike is a legend. How dare you? How dare you?
He's a legend at a lot of things. So let's go to the first story of the day here. I want to get your feedback on that. A couple things to talk about here. The first one is so Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch has lashed out at the city of Fredericksburg, Virginia, saying that they wrongly probed into the church's internal affairs, seeking to verify its religious rules. Now, Mikey, you're going to fucking hate and love this question. So one of the Supreme Court's conservatives blasted the city of Fredericksburg, Virginia on yesterday, saying that officials improperly delved into the internal religious practices of a church after it requested a property tax exemption for 2 of its ministers. Quote, "The First Amendment does not permit bureaucrats or judges to subject religious views to verification," Judge Neil Gorsuch wrote, dissenting from the court's refusal to hear the case in which the city denied the exemption. So in other words, he wanted to hear the case. The appeal, now here's the funny part, the appeal came from New Life in Christ Church, which bought a house in Fredericksburg, 50 miles southeast of D.C. For a couple, they bought the house for a couple hired as youth ministers. The church said their duties involved providing leadership over the church's ministry to college students. Virginia's Constitution, which last I checked, they love the Constitution, maybe not the Virginia one, but allows a real estate tax exemption very specifically for property occupied by churches and for the residence of their minister. A separate law says the exemption applies to, quote, "the residence of the minister, singular, of the church." The city concluded that the house for the couple did not qualify, so the church sued and lost in court. This pissed off Neil Gorsuch, and he's the only one, I guess, who had pissed off. Astonishingly, Amy Coney Barrett not pissed off, maybe, but I'd like to start with Mikey on this one because, Mikey, what is your favorite saying?
Now can I tax the church?
Yes. So just your quick thoughts on this whole shenanigans. Well,
it's funny, right? Because all churches have all these special protections under the law when it comes to like income and donations and especially property. Like if you ever look at like where all the money, like these super mega pastors, like they all stash all that money in their housing because all of that stuff is tax exempt. So if they, instead of buying the housing prices are different depending on where you're at. So instead of buying like a single family home that's like in Chicagoland, that's like $400,000. Instead of doing that, if they wait and then they buy, I don't know, a $4 million mansion, it's the same. And they get a lot of credits and tax incentives for their housing because the government allows the church to have a tax-free place for the pastor to live. Fine, that's whatever. It is what it is. But they tried to get the youth pastors a house. Oh,
well, I'm assuming that the pastor already had a house,
but they got to dump that money out somewhere. So they tried to dump that money out somewhere. It's like, let's just buy the youth pastors a house. That's a couple. We'll get them one. And it didn't work. So sucks. I can almost
guarantee that they like pillaged this guy from another, or this couple from another church. And they're like, "Oh, we'll get you a house." And like they bought him the house, that's fine, but then you have to get the tax exemption too. Ben, you have no opinion on this, I'm sure, correct?
Well, actually, I mean, I have a handful of opinions and a little bit of history because
Yeah,
So
we
fun
love
fact,
history.
this was hotly debated when the United States like literally first formed, right? So first and foremost, what we need to understand is these random tax exemptions from for churches are all very, very new, like incredibly new. Like it would shock you how new most of these are because literally when like under like George Washington, there's this whole argument about whether or not a like county government or a state government should even be allowed to sell some of its property to a church. And they came to the conclusion that no. And the reason why was because there was a very strict interpretation of the Establishment Clause, right? The phrase that says, you know, like we cannot recognize the establishment of religion, this, that, and the other thing. Well, that was quite literally meant as, no, you don't understand. We cannot recognize any institution whatsoever, period. Like we can't recognize the existence. Like the law should not recognize the existence of like churches really as any sort of separate or unique entity from any other type of like entity or structure. That basically they should treat the bakery the same way it treats the church, right? And then there's another thing that's really important when it comes to Neil Gorsuch. That's really important because Amy Coney Barrett actually hinted towards something along these lines like a few years ago in one of her rulings when she was just like a district court judge. And basically, anytime you hear any right-winger talk about religious freedom, the first thing that needs to pop into your head is segregation. And the reason for that is quite simple. The first time you saw religious freedom used as any sort of staple argument inside of the Supreme Court, right, or inside the court system in the United States of America, for the most part, was largely centered around desegregation. When they were passing laws, right, to desegregate the United States, these people run around like, oh, but what about our religious freedom? This is our new magical religious principle now to be segregationists. And they literally tried to use freedom of religion as an excuse to maintain segregation. And that was shot down in the court. Now, oddly enough, Amy Coney Barrett, in one of in one of her rulings that did actually like get overturned, I believe. But as a lower level court judge, she basically like tried to undo that precedent of like religious freedom preventing segregation, but it's for like another line of reasoning for a slightly different issue. But she just sort of like weaseled that phraseology into it. And so this is one of those things that everybody needs to really be aware of. Whenever you see these right-wingers talk about religious freedom, your first thought needs to be like, how are they going to use this, right, from a segregationist position? Because fundamentally that is like the origin of it. Because ultimately this whole like religion intermingling itself within the law, especially when it comes to tax exemptions for churches and other ridiculous things like that, most of it actually came from Dwight Eisenhower, right? It's actually quite new from a historical context within the United States of America, and doesn't really have any origin. Like at the birth of the United States, they very much had a strict sort of, no, we shouldn't really recognize churches as fundamentally different from anything else, because then you get into problems and then you have to make decisions about what is a legitimate religious belief or not.
Right. Because I have a religion too, instantly. As soon as that ruling is put out, as soon as that pen is put to paper, I just started a religion. And I'm going to need tax exemption for all of my shit too, because my religion is called the Jack and Coke Vape First Methodist. And that we meet every Wednesday at 9:40 on Twitch. And that's just how I get down. So I'm going to need some exemptions now. Dino, what about you? What do you think about this story?
I think I like listening to Ben talk, but I'll say I really it's amazing. And I'll echo something you said in that the founders of this country were extremely, it seemed like they were kind of anti-religion, running from, King George and in the place where they say God has declared that this person is king and no one can question it. And so the church had so much power. So when you get here, they were so much against that. But, there are those who will tell you that this country was founded on religious doctrine, which is not true. I'm surprised about this because it's the Commonwealth of Virginia. And anytime you get in those Commonwealth states, they're usually these Bible thumping states where they don't question the church at all. It's almost cult like, the freedoms they give. So I'm surprised that someone would challenge a church in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I'm surprised that if you want to talk about somebody who would speak poorly about this, I'm surprised Clarence Thomas didn't, because he is really big on
That is a bit
anonymity of
shocking.
churches. Right? Yeah, exactly. So I'm surprised we didn't hear from him. Gorsuch, he's still a rookie, man. I'm waiting to see what's going to go on with this guy, but yeah, I'm surprised like the old heads like Clarence Thomas didn't lash out at this.
Well, I'm sure he's not pleased about it, but I do think that it's possible. I really can't speak for him here, but I mean, I believe it's possible that this is written pretty well, in that they can do it, but it's for the minister of the church. The odd thing about what Gorsh said is his position was, why are you even bothering to look into this? You should just let it go no matter what. If the church says that they're going to spend $5 million on a bucket of Cheerios, you should just assume that that's the price of the bucket of Cheerios, because they're religious people. So why on earth would they ever say anything that is remotely untrue?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we don't question, I mean, the fact that we have multi-million-dollar millionaires as pastors, it's a weird thing for me. Like when you look at some of their houses and what they drive, and they fly around in private jets, but this is all for the people we serve.
Just one
This is
jet?
all for what I'm saying. Yeah, we're gonna fly to Africa where it's dirt poor. Exactly.
My jet needs a jet. It needs a little.
There you go,
buddy. Be lonely.
And the members of their flock pay for all this, and the government turns their back on it and doesn't say anything about it. It's a weird thing. But like I said, I'm surprised that anyone, especially in Virginia, even question this. Like, this is, I know someone's probably disowned from their family for starting this. It's a question, because you don't question the church in Virginia.
Ben, you had a couple other points. Did you want to throw those in real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I guess like I don't know. There's just so many layers to this. I mean, like really, like the biggest point is the point about like is the point about their segregationist takes, and like you need to be really, really wary of people talking about religious freedom, because the truth of the matter is we know what they mean when they say religious freedom. Because like, let's be clear, right? Let's be clear, okay? If this was a mosque, okay, Neil Gorsuch wouldn't have any issue with looking into the business of the church. Yeah. Okay,
how dare you? How dare you?
Are you trying to say that there's some sort of religious privilege?
How dare you imply that Neil Gorsuch has a bias, Ben? I mean, that is just, you are disgusting.
How dare you?
Absolutely disgusting.
Who do you think you are?
Yeah. The audacity that you have. My goodness. Oh yeah, of course. But of course you're exactly correct. So he'd be like, wait a minute. The mosque is buying a house for a youth pastor. They're corrupting our youths to make them want to marry 11-year-olds and kill their families.
Exactly.
And of course, that actually happened here, like in Chicagoland, like out in the suburbs, where the Muslim community around me wanted to buy some land and put a mosque up, and they kept running into all these hurdles and problems and issues. And the main one was like, oh yeah, but if you guys park that way, then you're gonna have like your headlights are gonna be like facing people. So it'll like be facing people's houses, and that's going to be disruption. So I don't, and like there was like a whole, I went down to town hall and went to like the meetings and all that stuff. Like these were people's complaints. I'm like, do you think they sit in their car with the battery running? No, they get in the car, they park the car, then they get out of the car and they go inside. They do their prayers inside.
Islam is well known for overnight church. I mean,
that's their big thing.
Have any of you ever seen an adherent of Islam worship during the day? Never. It's always overnight. Happened. You know, the 5 prayers are overnight. Everyone knows this, right?
And so then they said, okay, you need to get a privacy fence. You need to get a privacy fence so that your headlights don't bother them. They said, fine, that's $30,000 because it's like a larger, because they wanted it all the way around.
Plus the zoning fee.
Yeah. So like, we'll pay all that stuff. And I think they finally got the permit last year. And this was like 4 years ago. But other than that, like they were having to drive, Dutch, you probably know what I'm talking about. Like there's one mosque in Naperville. So they were having to come from like an area that was, I mean, it doesn't sound terribly far, but the way the roads are set up over here, like they were having to drive 5 towns up to go to the closest mosque. And you can't take the highway. You have to take fucking stoplight every mile and a half. So it's taking them an hour and a half, 2 hours to get to fucking mosque. So they're like, yo, let us make another one. I'm like, your headlights and there could be other issues. And we're not racist, we promise. I don't know.
No, not at all. We just don't like Muslims.
And all that stuff popped up after the news media got involved. It's like, we didn't want this to be a spectacle. We were just trying to silently poo-poo you building your establishment. We didn't know you were going to tell on us. God. But they built it.
Cool. I got a quick story. It just came to mind. I have to share this. My favorite people on the planet, and I kid you, I mean, bar none, are young people from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Oh, the Mormons.
I gotta love them. And here's the thing: like, I love them because the commitment. You gotta respect the hustle. Like, they're always young kids. They're always someplace that sucks. They're always on their own dime and riding these bikes. And they go around. Whenever they come to my house, I let them in. I'm a powwow with you. Come on in, sit down, get you. And I love to hear their spiel. Yeah, exactly. Here's the thing. I never tell them that I've talked to their counterparts because I want to hear their spiel. I want them to sell me on this.
Yeah, sell the soap.
And they sit there and they tell you the story about Joseph Smith and they pray with they hug themselves and they say their little, oh Lord, and they do their little thing and they tell me about how Jesus was in America when they're hanging out with the Indians. And they always say, so how does that make you feel? Like, I love when they want you to go on there. They give you this amazing, how did that make you feel? I always tell them, I felt like you really believed what you were saying.
That's a great answer.
Because they do. They really are sold on this thing. Mm-hmm. And I ran into a brother that was with him, black guy. Yeah. And I was like, I say, I like to give you a little bit of history. I don't know if you know this.
1978. But
when the Mormon church was founded, Black people and Native Americans couldn't be Mormons because we don't have a soul, according to them. Did you know that? And he's like, well, no. I said, and if you believe in God, and as you guys say, God is unchanging. If God believed we don't have a soul then, we don't have a soul now.
So no, there was new revelations, bro. You got to update your Book of Mormon. You got to hit that little eye up in the corner.
In 1998. God came back down
Correct.
And said, by the way, we need Black votes now. So we will technically let them in. Just don't actually do it.
Oh, yeah. And I've been to their Mormon temples. They, like I said, if there's one church, maybe outside of Scientology, that's like wild, the Mormon church is it's wild. It's deep. It's a good study. Like,
it is interesting.
Yeah.
They ain't getting my plate numbers. I ain't going.
Well, they I will say this for Mormons and for Jehovah's Witnesses as well. They know their shit. Like, they know their pitch. You know what I mean? Like, I have a degree in religious studies, and I know my shit pretty well when it comes to world religions. I'm not like an author or anything like that, but
you're not a theologian.
No, I'm definitely not a theologian. But they do. Like, you talk to a regular run-of-the-mill Christian, like a Bible study, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They know like 8 verses. They know kind of the idea of what they think things are supposed to be. And that's the thing that troubles me about Christianity for the most part, is that like people have this idea that they think if it sounds right, it must be right, even though the Bible doesn't say 90% of what they believe.
Blasphemer.
Or contradicts itself. And that's not an anti-Bible statement. That's just a fact. Like, I can find you like 160 contradictions within Scripture. That doesn't mean by itself that there's nothing valuable there. It just means that it is what it is. But Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons, they think about their pitch. You know what I mean? Like, they've got rebuttal after rebuttal after rebuttal for that type of stuff. So I do give them at least some credit for that. So switching gears here, I want to talk about one more quick story before we get to today's dig. I think today's dig is going to be very interesting. We're going to talk about Western values. And then when Haas gets on in a bit, we'll talk about a little bit of Martin Luther King, and then we'll get out of here. But so there was a story. I'm going to share my screen here just to kind of show the RedTube video I was watching earlier.
Make sure it's the right tab, man. Don't share the wrong tab.
But there's a young lady who was killed in Los Angeles the other day. So now a lot of people are going to take this, and people probably take this as like me trying to rip on this young lady. I'm not. So this young woman, Brianna Kupfer, was working in a store called the Croft House in LA in Hancock Park the other day, which is sort of a upscale boutique, and she was killed by someone who went into the store.
It's like a furniture store.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know exactly. I've heard it's a boutique. I didn't research the type of boutique that it was, to be honest with you. I don't really care. But this is the young lady's picture. So there's a dynamic, though, that this points out to me. And this story has caught national news, just like the couple that went off on vacation and the boyfriend killed the girlfriend. Anytime a pretty white girl dies, and this has nothing to do with her. I'm sure she was a remarkable young lady. It's a tragedy that she was killed. What I'm about to say here has absolutely zero to do with Brianna Kupfer in any way, shape, or form. What I'm about to talk about is social perception. And obviously the parents say a lot of great things about her, as well that they should. But then you look at the story and you're like, okay, well, here's the guy that killed her. He's on YouTube video. They've got outside the boutique, there are, they've been following the police are literally going across the neighborhood and looking at security cameras from like 30 to 40 different stores, ATMs, doing anything that they can. They have a $250,000 reward. Apparently, they just arrested this person today. And this person, obviously, if he killed this woman, he's a fucking monster, and fuck him. But the point of the matter is that, like, the public is in, like, shock. They're in outrage. They just can't believe that this has happened. There's a vigil outside of the store with, like, long handwritten letters to this young woman. And while all of that stuff is on its own perfectly fine, Dino, what strikes you about that?
Can't hear you.
I don't know that I want to go where my mind takes me immediately, because it's about the lives that we value in this country. The importance and the weight that something has is largely dependent on what that person looks like. And assuming I'm talking about black and white, it's not only that. It's weird. Your victim, but what you're not maybe missing, your victim, the more attractive they are, the more they play, because the media is having worked in the media, it's a sell business. You're selling something. Just, you're selling these stories. And so a case like that is going to grow legs and run, because the girl is beautiful and she's gone. If she was a 9-year-old black girl with nappy hair, we may not have even heard about that story.
Well, you just had a 5-year-old black girl who was just shot in, what was it, Pennsylvania?
Yeah. I looked up some of the prices on this stuff because I'm like, what do they mean by like boutique thing? A dresser. Guess how much a dresser costs from this place? It's just like it's got a 4x4, so it's a 8-drawer dresser just for like your jeans or whatever.
$3,900.
Ben, what you think?
Oh, I have no idea. I don't know what a dresser costs. $1,000.
Okay, that's a reasonable. That's a lot, but that's reasonable. Like I would expect. This is a boutique place. That's so. Dino, what about you?
Yeah, I would think. I mean, boutique furniture. I'm assuming they're gonna come to your house and put the whole thing together. Complete that whole experience. Maybe $1,500.
8,050.
Wow, look at that. Marissa nailed it right on the nose, Marissa.
8,000. A mirror? How about a little circular mirror for your bedroom?
Yeah.
$2,000.
That sounds. Does it send me a reflection other than what I normally see?
It better have a filter built in that bitch so I look like fucking Donald Glover every time I look in that bitch. Fucking this chair. It's a fucking wire chair with a little fucking suede cushion thing in the middle. $2,350.
I'm in. I'm buying 3. In fact, we're all going to be sitting. I'm getting them for everyone. We're all going to be sitting on in the lap of luxury next week.
No, $2,350, not $23.50.
Oh, I thought you said 23.
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
I'm
decimal
out, guys.
points scooted a little bit there. So this is when they say boutique, they meant boutique. Like this is like how much is a desk from these people? A desk is $5,000.
Oh, that's actually a bargain compared to the dresser.
I just use the fucking dresser.
I'd rather buy that than the mirror. I think $5,000 for a desk. I think I can handle. $2,000 for a small circular mirror.
It's like a little IKEA desk. It's got 2 drawers and like a little flat. It can't be more than like what 6-7 feet across.
This is made from sacred Native American wood.
Better be made out of fucking vibranium for fucking $5,000.
Ben, tell me what your thoughts are on this. Like, so is there something within am I alone in this? Is there something in our society that I think we lost Dino there for a second. I'm sure he'll return. Is there something within our society that we can pinpoint that, like, why is it when an attractive young white girl is killed, tragically, of course, the media just jumps on it like it's the first time it's ever happened?
I mean, well, this is really simple, actually, right? So every society, every culture, every civilization depends on narratives, right? Narratives is really how we frame most of how we understand the world, right? As a society, like as individuals, we use narratives to shape our understanding of like how the United States became what it was. Like, you know, why do we have daylight savings time? Everything that we have, there's some sort of popular narrative around it. And in the United States, we need to understand, first and foremost, rip the Band-Aid off. The United States is a white supremacist culture, period, stop. Like the United States fundamentally is a white supremacist country that is like rooted, right, in white supremacy from its very, very foundation. And so the sort of mainstream sort of culture of the United States, that white supremacy is going to be central in it. And white women play a very pivotal role in a very critical white supremacist narrative that is used to literally create the justice system that we have, the policing system that we have. I mean, you name it. And so in this narrative, right, you have white women as this sort of like perfect, innocent victim. And then you have black men as this ultimate sort of villain, right? And that is the white supremacist narrative that has been true literally since the birth of the United States. And that narrative really plays out to this very day. The media still operates under the assumption that narrative. Most white folks in the United States still operate like largely in those types of narratives. And what we need to do as a society, right, is sort of take that narrative out of our minds. We need to dismantle that narrative because that narrative is used to, I mean, think about it, right? Come on. Los Angeles Police Department putting up a $250,000 bounty for somebody that got murdered. Are you kidding me? You know, like, come on, right? Not only, like we have to acknowledge them putting up saying, hey, you know, if we find this $250,000 reward, right? Like, that's an admission of the LAPD not doing their jobs, right? First and foremost, that's saying, yeah, we don't do our jobs. How about you do our job for us, right?
We'll pay you.
Yeah, because what is their job? Right? The job of the LAPD is to suppress black folks in the community. That's it. That's what their job is. Their job is to go hunt down murderers or solve crimes. Like
they're very busy. They're very busy. That guy's got a tail light out.
Exactly.
I mean, it's only the 8th largest standing army in the world.
Yeah. And so like that's their job. They know what their job is. When they need to find a murder suspect, they, you know, call in the public to do it. And they offer like a reward for that. But like ultimately that narrative is still playing out like right here. And because, I I mean, think about it. Think about it. What is that? If they put out a reward, what is that? That means they want to rally people in the community. What is that reminiscent of? Like, what is that? What do you mean? What do you mean? Right? So we've got a story, right, where a black man is accused of murdering a white woman, and the police department says, we can't do anything about it, but here's a reward if anybody in the public would maybe find information. Like, you cannot tell me that is not directly the child of lynch mobs. You literally cannot tell, like, because it just literally is. It literally is, right?
Here's a cash bounty and a fuzzy picture. Go get them, guys.
Yeah. I mean, literally, right? And so, but that's really like the underlying cultural reality is in the United States, we have that white supremacist narrative embedded within the media, that white supremacist narrative embedded within many people's minds, and a lot of effort being done to continue that narrative, right? Like, there's a lot of work being put into this very day to maintain that narrative. And this is what we're seeing, a continuation of that.
Yeah. It to me, it's like, I look at something like that and I'm like, obviously, I'm not going to go out and say, well, the people who are outraged by this are overtly racist. I don't think that that's true. What I think is that they're socially conditioned to believe that this is abnormal, and that this girl was, and that this was a girl whose life was senselessly lost. Which it was, but where, on the other hand, when someone who does not look like her, their life is lost, it's not as tragic. It might be tragic in the fact that they were, to some degree, but generally, they must have been a victim of their own circumstance in some way, shape, or form. I need to see the details. I need to see why this happened, and I'm not trying to imply at all that this young lady did anything to provoke this. I'm not even close to making that assumption, because I don't know what the details are. But if the shoe were on the other foot, I kept watching this news story and thinking to myself, the portrayal of this is so typical. It is so typical of every single time, like with Natalie Holloway, with John Benet Ramsey, with the girl in the, whose boyfriend Brian, whatever, killed her a few weeks ago, a couple over the summer when everybody was, I forget the girl's name, sorry, but you see it over and over and over again. The woman who Drew Peterson killed, you see all of these cases just take the country by storm, and you never ever see that for Stacey Peterson, for anyone who is, you don't see it for any man, number one, and you never see it for any, which that part I can live with, because we all understand that society, puts women as, in a certain place and men in a certain place. And that part is, it has one issue, but on the other hand, it's not as big of an issue. The biggest issue is that if someone were a person of color, there's no benefit of the doubt given to them whatsoever. And they assume, well, tragic, but anyway, what's on the menu? Where, what are we Uber eating tonight? Where with something like this, it's tragic. I'm going down there and writing a 2-page letter and leaving, and we're picking up a teddy bear on the way. And like, that doesn't make you a bad person, but it makes me think, like, why do we only do this sometimes? You know what I mean? Like, I just wish it wasn't that way.
Yeah. And unfortunately for me, I'm very, very numb to all of this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm used to, like, underserved and underprivileged people being excluded when horror comes to their doorstep. No one fucking cares. Like they just don't fucking care.
Thank you, Gabby Petiti. That's who we were looking for.
That's how it's been since I've been alive. So when in Rome, do as the Romans do. So again, it is tragic that this young lady lost her life, and fuck that guy for fucking stabbing her. Like, fuck you. Like, use your fucking words, dude. But this is America being America. This is kind of our bread and butter. We have our victims, and we have our people who died and aren't victims because I don't know how much. I don't see anybody asking how much weed was in her system, or was she high on something. They didn't dig into her criminal record to figure out if there was something to try to villainize her after the fact.
That's exactly correct. Like they did with George Floyd and they did with Ahmaud Arbery and even the, Anthony Huber. Oh, he attacked someone with a deadly weapon called a skateboard. He must have done something. But now I do real quick, though, want to give at least some credit to the Fox affiliate locally who covered this. At the end of the story, they did say that they gave an announcement from one of the social services departments in LA that they said this is really a failure of the system because this person is a known homeless person, apparently. And they phrased it in a way that I thought they at least tried to do the best job that they could, where they said, look, this person may have been on drugs. They may have had mental issues. There's a huge issue with mental health within the homeless community. We all know that back in the 80s and 70s and 80s, during the deinstitutionalization movement that followed the introduction of psychotropic drugs into the marketplace, where they quote unquote cured a bunch of people who had schizophrenia and stuff like that, thought they were better, then released them, said, here, don't forget to take your meds. They of course stopped taking their meds, and then they had to try to go out and get them back into the system so that you wouldn't have unstable people walking around. That is a failure of the system. So I do at least give them a little bit of credit for not putting it on like this thug and trying to say, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
So I definitely give credit there. And I think it's fair to do that because I don't think I've ever heard that before in a news story about a person of color. I heard about white people all the time, but I
mean, I love Naruto, heavy metal guitar. I work fucking 40 plus hours a week and I run 5 YouTube channels. But if I ever did anything and got arrested, I'm instantly a thug. Look at him.
Yeah. I was thinking that about you, though, before, too. I was thinking, Mikey, he's just a thug. Whoop. There he is. He's back, and he is he's looking very sketchy now in the dark. But
see, Dutch, there you go.
I did it on purpose. There you go. You fell right into it. Perfect.
Just talked about that. He don't learn. I'm sorry, Ben. I apologize to the co-host and he's trying to get better, I think.
Trying to get better, I thought. So, but we lost Dino for that story, so we'll just move into the dig here. We'll kind of go from there. Mikey, why don't you shoot us out some music, or some not some music? I'm sorry.
What?
Not some music. Shoot us out the banner for us there. I'm losing my mind as I'm doing two things at once.
You talk, I'll do the thing.
I talk. All right. So now, my 8th grade social studies teacher,
Mr. Humble,
taught me things that turns out, after doing my own research, wasn't exactly the whole story. And this week, we will dive into today's dig topic, Western values. So, Western values means Western, which is an old cowboy movie starring gunslingers like John Wayne, and values, which is, of course, getting a good deal at the market. So essentially, Western values means you bought a DVD of True Grit for 99 cents. Thanks.
That's a Western value right there.
Oh, that's not it. I'm sorry. So what the hell? Am I lagging again? Well, good God.
Gorsuch.
Good Gorsuch. What the hell are Western values then? So Western values, it turns out, is a term most often, but certainly not exclusively, used by conservative groups. It has a variety of interpretations and meanings. It is often assimilated with a similar concept known as judeo-christian values. Depending on whom you ask, it could be some of the following, or possibly all of the following: democracy, rational thinking, individualism, belief in a creator, capitalism, modern technology, human rights, and scientific thinking, private property rights, freedom of expression, freedom of movement, law and order, pursuit of happiness, privacy, free trade, secular government, and divinely inspired morality. Couple of contradictions there, but anyway, that's for the discussion period. So others just say it's a simple, Western values are a simple amalgamation of Greek philosophy, Roman law and culture, and Judeo-Christian morality. Ironically, and by the way, to our two guests, if you want to pause me while I am talking through this, if you want to comment on anything that I say, just yell out pause and I will stop and you can comment on what you hear. If not, we'll just wrap it up and talk afterwards about how this affects us today. So, ironically, for much of history, Europe and the United States both, but originally Europe, sought to define its identity by drawing upon cultural norms and traditions that lay beyond its own geographical boundaries. The West, quote unquote, is not even an idea that those now regarded as installing it ever had themselves. The expression Western values does not appear in English until the middle of the 20th century. Its entrance signals, at least partly, a significant soul-searching in the wake of the two world wars that shattered any complacency about the moral superiority of Europe and the success of the Enlightenment project. The idea of a Jewish-Christian combination was subsequently adopted by 19th century philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, I think I'm saying that wrong, who deployed the descriptor... Nietzsche. Nietzche, yeah, who deployed the descriptor judeo-christian to describe what he regarded as an undesirable Jewish nation form of morality. The negative meaning of this term changed following World War II with the realization that anti-Semitism had been nurtured within the bosom of a supposedly civilized Western world. So now, I get to play a part. You guys are in for a treat.
Oh, no.
Everyone's favorite fast talker, Ben Shapiro,
I hate him so much.
is one of the modern day's great advocates for Western values. So let's break down what he says in his book, the ironically named Right Side of History. Welcome to Daily Wire. This is Ben Shapiro. Now, I should say, well, before we go there, Shapiro has already laid out some landmines in the groundwork for those who might contest him. So, to be fair, I'll start with the quote from his 2019 interview with the Christian Broadcast Network, and then go into what he said from the book. So,
if you're not just reading WAP, then I'm not interested.
I am going to read it as him. So you are in for quite a treat. People deliberately lie about what it is that I am saying. People will suggest that, for example, that I'm a white supremacist when I'm militantly anti-white supremacist. I am devout in my Jewish faith. So the attempt to paint me as some sort of racist, the attempt to paint me as some sort of bigot or somebody who wants to hurt other people, I'm sort of fascist. Those lies are the way the left avoids debate. Unfortunately, the hard left constantly and dishonestly avoids debate anyway. Ben races on by offering the following. Of all the ancients, the Greeks, the Romans, all of them believed that happiness had to do with a sense of moral purpose. It doesn't matter if you're agnostic or atheist, but without the belief that there is a purpose to the universe, that there is a purpose to your life, without a belief that you have the capacity to make individual choices, without free will, it's very difficult to build a civilization. And by difficult, I mean impossible. The only theocrats, yes.
But, and this is, I don't want to take us into the weeds here. He doesn't
take us into the weeds, please.
He doesn't believe in free will because he believes in an omnipotent, omnipresent, omni-everything God. So he doesn't believe in free will. They're categorically opposed to each other because your God can't make everything and you get to decide what you do and do not. Your God already knows all of those things. So you've never had free will according to his own religion. He just doesn't have it. But he goes on.
The only theocrats, those who want to institute their moral preferences from the top down, are the folks on the left who want to invade your privacy and force people to do things that they don't want to do and place government in this.
Pause. Dino and Ben, you guys seem to be, I don't know, maybe slightly left-leaning. Do you want to control other people? Do you feel like your job as someone who is progressive-minded is to control and dictate what other people do with their bodies and their lives?
Tell us how you really feel, man.
You know, originally I was thinking no, like freedom is really nice and all, but I actually saw this news story yesterday about how there are these dudes who are downloading AI girlfriends just to like torture them and be cruel, and that changed my mind. I actually now believe in a surveillance state, and all those people belong on an FBI watch list.
They're just being toxic boyfriends online.
Yeah, they couldn't find a real girlfriend to be an abuser.
Shut your dumb computerized
an
ass.
Artificial intelligence one, like.
And that's when the singularity happened.
And this is people like these were some people really try my patience, but no, like believe it or not, as a communist, I actually believe in economic democracy, right? Believe it or not, I think Jeff Bezos shouldn't be a dictator of Amazon. It should be voted on by the workers. But that's just me. I like freedom. I don't know.
What about you, Dino? Are you actively wanting and trying to control other people?
Yeah. All the time. That's what the hell you think this whole movement is about, man? I'm hosting a rally at the Capitol. If anybody wants to join, and
January 5th.
There you go.
Get in there early,
and the police will magically be there for that one.
Oh my God!
While Ben's telling us about people trying to ventricate the AI housewife. Like the Proud Boys are doing. So let me race on here.
So no, the left is not trying to control people. We'd rather everybody do their own thing. I think that's the consensus.
But Ben disagrees. He says the left is trying to implement government as a quasi-godlike figure. The truth is, while Western civilization is responsible for racism and genocide, those things are common throughout history. It's the good stuff you can't explain. Secular values such as freedom of speech, free markets, secular government, those things are rooted in judeo-christian values.
Wait. Pause. Read that last sentence again.
The truth is, while Western
are from the church, is that what he just said?
The truth is, while Western civilization, hold on, let me rewind. The truth is, while Western civilization is responsible for racism and genocide, those things are common throughout history. It's the good stuff you can't explain. Secular values such as freedom of speech, free markets, and secular government. Those things are rooted in Judeo-Christian values. Judeo-Christian values show that we are all free thinkers with creative capacity. We see that the universe is an understandable place where we ought to be able to use reason.
Years old.
There are religious assumptions. These are religious assumptions. You cannot make these assumptions if you are a scientific materialist. I would imagine that Mikey has a thought there.
Is Ben Shapiro a young Earth creationist? And I never knew this.
I don't know.
I
would say he might not. I would say maybe he is, but I don't know the answer to that. But that is a really odd. Hello, Big Haas. I'm guessing I heard a beep, so I'm guessing Big Haas has joined us as we talk about one of Haas's favorite things, Western values, and how and wonder if they're better or worse. So Ben again is arguing that Judeo-Christian values say that we're all free thinkers. They give us creative capacity and allow us to see the universe as an understandable place where we ought to use reason. And you cannot do that if you are a scientific materialist. So Ben races on religious tolerance, universal human rights, the abolition of slavery, the delivery of the scientific method. These are accomplishments of a scope and scale that only the West can claim. Now, while most of us would probably need a respirator at this point, Ben, who apparently finished his second Red Bull, concludes his statement with this.
Say Ben Shapiro, because our guest's name is Ben.
Ben Shapiro. Yes,
we don't want to drag Ben down.
I am quoting Ben Carollo here the whole time.
Oh God, no.
Ben Shapiro says, we are living in the most prosperous time in human history. Yet astonishingly, our society is becoming more and more angry and divided. It is imperative that we as a people... Pause. There's one more sentence left. I'm going to finish.
All right.
It is imperative that we as a people do the hard work to investigate the roots of our civilization and explain this conundrum and find that Western civilization is responsible for the greatest culture in the history of the world.
Now, when he says it's the most prosperous, who the hell is he talking about?
That is the question of the day.
Who is more prosperous?
I mean, if we're going by sheer numerical terms, most prosperous would actually be China. China is officially the richest country in the world. So if we're sorry to Ben Shapiro, right? But China actually beat out the United States in terms of GDP literally like a few months ago. So, already lost that title.
But even if he's talking about like in the States, like the States, like yes, Amazon has made all of this money. Does that mean Americans have made all that money? Like, who is he talking about is prospering?
That's the thing. And I think I was going to phrase this question this way. So the end of Ben's statement, and then this will be the conversation starter. Maybe we'll go around the horn here. He says at the end, Ben says, we're living in the most prosperous time in human history, yet we're angry and divided. So then he says, it's imperative that we as a people do the hard work to investigate the roots of our civilization and explain this. So what he's saying to a non-person who speaks 5,000 miles an hour is he's saying, let's look at why our civilization, our Western culture is better than other cultures, right? So I think where you have to start with is what is defined as a civilization, because I think that his definition of civilization and mine might be different, because weren't the Mayans a civilization? Weren't the Incas a civilization? Big Haas, you just joined us. Any quick thoughts that you might have on this whole Western values discussion as you puff on your cigar? And by the way, say hello to Dino and Ben.
Dino, Ben. How y'all doing? Good. Glad to hear it.
I'm fine. Hi, Big House. What the fuck? This is some bullshit.
Hey, I texted you a few days ago talking about a certain article of clothing. I didn't hear shit back. So
you're on boycott.
I'm off tomorrow.
Oh, it's great to hear that. Anyway, you often hear from non-racists how every great innovation.
Wait, are these the people who preface their statement by "I'm not a racist," but
yeah?
Okay, I just want to make sure we're talking about the same people.
Like Shamasha, who firmly believes that every notable.
Well, he can't be a racist because he's not.
Oh, he's
white.
an Assyrian Christian. Yeah. But every notable or influential or groundbreaking innovation in the history of the world has come from Western civilization. And it sounds like Ben is firmly in that camp. Ben Shapiro, not Ben Carollo.
Well, we'll decide after he talks.
And I think that is one of the main reasons why we must teach true history in schools, so that people don't grow up thinking like that. But that is the level of completion that conditioning of white supremacy has brought. So that's my thought about it.
And I apologize, Ben. What we'll decide what she thinks after she talks. Go ahead, Ben. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, okay, first and foremost, oh my, there's so much to say. Okay, free speech. Free speech literally came from.
Okay, if you don't have an opinion, then we can move on. No.
Free speech came from indigenous North Americans from a litany of different cultures, where literally here you have a bunch of feudal peasants, right, from Europe, who stumble their way into Turtle Island, right? They stumble their way into Turtle Island, and all of a sudden they're like, wait, you all have freedom? You all can you can go wherever you want. You're not literally tied to the land you were born on, to your feudal lord. Wait, you argue about ideas? The whole idea, literally the whole what was called coffee house culture that led to the Enlightenment period was 100% entirely stolen from indigenous North Americans, right? Which, to be clear, is a litany of different civilizations. There were literally hundreds of civilizations that existed, right? That all had their own unique culture and history and things like that. But interestingly enough, there was generally a principle across the continent that people would be able to move to wherever they want, live in whatever kind of society that they wanted. And there's tons of really different interesting cultural norms. The whole idea that people should be free from coercive force came from folks who are living in the Iroquois Confederation and the litany of different nations that made that up. So everything there. And then like a lot of this like sort of ridiculous lie about like technology. I mean, come on, the cell phone was invented in the USSR. Every cell phone that you have is made in China, right? Like everything that the United States has is entirely stolen. Literally every single thing the United States has, right? The farms were originally plowed by slaves and don't belong to the slave owners, right? Like rightfully the fruits of that labor should have belonged to the people who actually worked the fields, right? The materials that are put in all of the equipment that we have is completely stolen, mostly from Africa, right? Like everything the United States has is stolen. Everything that Western culture has is completely stolen. So it's ridiculous to claim these things, and they're just the very notion of a constitution. Literally, the United States Constitution is literally white supremacy stamped on top of the document that was the Iroquois Confederation,
yeah.
and their constitution, right? So everything about Western civilization is just white supremacy stamped on stolen goods.
I want to ask, so Dino is an awesome Twitter Spaces host. Okay, I've been in a lot of Twitter Spaces, and I will say, brother, you run probably the tightest space that I've been in. I don't know why you haven't had one in the last day or two, but not the tight pause. Giggity.
Gosh.
But so what I want you to do is pretend that we're in a Twitter space, and I come in as a troll, and I say to you, I just want to kind of see where you would guide this conversation. I say to you, I don't understand why you deny. Like what is the problem that you have with America? We have the greatest culture, and just because that culture was implemented by white men, you're free to live in it too, and we all have the same rights. And I don't understand why all of you liberals are always saying that this country has so many issues. Look at all the technology we have. Look at all the medical science we have. All of this was done by white men. Why is it wrong for me to take credit for this?
Well, I don't think it's wrong for you to take credit for what you've done, but I think we have to be honest about what you've done. I mean, it's everything we know about America is institutionalized because you go to college. Once you graduate high school and you go to college, you take what? Western civilization. That's freshman year, everybody. So, because you're being indoctrinated. Because I gotta buy into what you're selling. So, and Ben made a perfect point by saying Western civilization is nothing but expansionism through theft and murder and brainwashing. Because it's the white man's burden to come with your Bible. And here's the thing, and speaking to you about America, when white men want to expand, they bring the Bible and they bring liquor. Wherever they go, that's their thing. Okay. We first bring liquor to try to coerce you to change, and then we bring our Bible to justify slaughtering you because I can kill you if you don't have a soul. If you don't believe in my God, I can kill you. So, and I agree with the commenter says indoctrination begins way before college. Yes, the indoctrination begins in the first grade when they teach you, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. That's someone who's taken a military pledge, and Ben, you can speak to this. That is a solemn thing. That's what you're saying is I will support, live, and die for this thing. And we teach it to children in the first grade. And to the republic for which it said it sounds like Nazi Germany when you really think about it. You can see kids doing the Sig Heil thing, while preaching this. But what we don't do is what we do in America is we allow them to take credit for advances that aren't ours. And I'm just echoing what Ben said. So we teach the lie, we propagate the lie. And we tell the lie so many times that the lie becomes a truth. And that's what we have here in America. Is America great? I don't even know because America's only 245 years old. And there have been dynasties that have been thousands of years old that have crumbled and no longer exist. So we don't even know that this experimental republic that we call a democracy We don't even know if we've got another 250 years in us.
Nah.
That's what I would say to you initially. But let's talk about it, though. You know, in my rooms, I'm always open. I don't care how you say it. I want to hear what you have to say because I need to know how you think.
Absolutely, and we can have. I think obviously most of us are probably going to agree in this room, but but we can handle this as just a around the horn conversation. I think one thing that I think people throw out there is that if we're talking about things that are factually true, it is factually true that science thrived in the Islamic world way before, hundreds of years before it thrived in Europe. And if you think that's not good enough, because yes, it's true that Islam turned away from science and probably did the world a terrible disservice by doing that, especially within the Islamic community, because you look at the amount of intelligence in that community and the fact that they just shun science, from a governmental standpoint, a theocracy government standpoint, that's a tragedy. But if that's not good enough for you, go to China. China predated, they pretty much implemented capitalism with free trade and private property 1,000 years before it started to become a thing in the 1600s or so in the United States. So, I mean, they literally predated it by 1,000 years.
Don't tell Ben Shapiro.
I'm sure Ben Shapiro knows this, but he's got what'll end up happening is he's got some weird argument to say yes, but it wasn't good enough. And that's the thing that I want to focus on. We always forcibly spread our values around the world by killing people, right? And that doesn't sound very awesome to me. But when we focus on behavior from other groups, like extreme behavior, especially when it comes to Islam or China or Russia or anything like that, it leads to a fear of immigrants, right? It leads to a fear of culture. It leads to culture wars. It leads to the idea that our way is best instead of just our way is a way. And when you think our way is best, you therefore, by default, think the other way is therefore not best or inferior. And then you're like, okay. And it's almost reasonable for people to think this when they've been told their whole life that it is true, that we are head and shoulders above the best. That's why they have the saying a high horse, right? Because they'd be like, you're better, so you're on the high horse. So you can almost understand that people get a little bit like suspect of immigrants because they think, well, if they're going to change our culture, which, you can have that discussion separately, our culture will no longer be the greatest because their culture sucks. So if they bring their culture here, our culture will go down.
Well, that's bullshit too, because Cinco de Mayo, what the fuck are they doing? They're fucking, gotta get me some tacos and some fucking tequila. It's fucking Cinco. It's like, I thought other cultures were trying to take over your shit. But you love that shit.
Tacos.
I mean,
Oh my God.
They love, like, that's one thing about America that I absolutely detest, is we love to steal from other people when it's convenient from us. But when it comes to treating those other cultures as equals to ours, because we're not better than them just because we grew up here. We're not better or worse. It's just different. And just like black and white, one's not better than the other. They're just different. And we will sit there and say, yeah, give me them tacos and the fucking deuce equise. Deuce equise.
Hey, Tucker Carlson says tacos are American now. So watch out.
That's what I mean.
My God.
So we'll fucking culturally appropriate everything we can get our fucking hands on. But as soon as it comes to respecting that culture and letting them have their own boundaries, now we have to fucking, this is America after all. But go ahead, Ben. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, well, and I kind of want to touch on something because a lot of people living in what is known as the Western world, right, or what like Marxists would refer to as the imperial core, right, like to think of themselves as the center of world history. In fact, like especially if you look at like world history classes, it mostly focuses on medieval Europe, which is like so ridiculous, right? It's so ridiculous because since if you look at world history, especially the old world, the place that has consistently had throughout history, throughout humanity, the highest average standard of living has pretty much always, with the exception of about 200 years of time, was China. ever since the establishment of the Qin dynasty, right, which sort of
Yep.
established roughly, right, what we know to be China today,
Right.
ever since then, they consistently had the single highest standard of living within the old world, up until like really the colonial era started, and sort of the like the opium wars, and all of the like different things that China deal with. Obviously China had some like different civil wars that had to deal with, but even within then, like, China still maintained itself as like one of the wealthiest nations in on the planet, right? And so if there
Right.
is really a main character of history, right, it wouldn't be the West. If there is, I think it's ridiculous to suggest that there is, but if there is a main character of history, it's China, which has maintained like trade relationships with basically the entire world, was set the sort of center of the old world economy for thousands of years. And so there's just this sort of ridiculous, like there's this ridiculous arrogance of like Western Europe and the United States, because for most of history, Western Europe was an irrelevant backwater. What we think of as, oh, these
Right.
lords and ladies fighting for honor, right? Like, that's the irrelevant backwater. Like, that's just a bunch of feudal clowns that are fighting with each other randomly that never really like had any sort of major influence everywhere else. And they were literally like if anything, they were known as, oh, those were the former colonies of the Roman Empire. Like,
I want
You
to
know?
ask you. I want to ask you a quick question before we go back to Haas, because I can see him chomping at the bit. So as a communist, Ben, there every once in a while you'll run across a shrewd conservative who will bring up what you just brought up about the Qin dynasty, and talk about how because when I was speaking about China implementing ideas of capitalism, they are the ones who implemented a lot of those ideas. Now, clearly, they weren't a capitalist society in the manner of speaking that we're used to, which we're not really capitalists either by any stretch. But but they did implement private property rights, and they implemented individualism, and they implemented free trade and a few other of the variables of capitalism. And once in a while, you'll run across a very clever guy who will bring up the conversation that, see, when they got away from that is when they got shitty. Capitalism rocks. What would be your response to that?
I mean, like, are people really gonna make the argument like like they were suffering under colonialism, right? Like, literally the British Empire, right, actively sabotaged China's entire economy and civilization. And that's why, like, they refer to it as basically like sort of 200 years of shame, which is the result of like, the Opium Wars, the invasion, the taking of Hong Kong, the slanging of drugs all the way through China, and the Queen literally actively trying to get the Chinese populace at large addicted to drugs to try and destabilize their economy, to destabilize their civilization and things like that. And then, like, really look at the past 100 years, right? If you really want to look at China, look at the past 100 years, right? Look at like really the success of Mao's revolution and where China is today. Because like, look, colonialism set China back like really, really far, and they were dealing with some pretty horrendous conditions, right? Mao comes along, they're still dealing with a lot of challenges, but then you start to see their economy grow, and then Deng Xiaoping comes in and basically says, I have this galaxy brain plan. Hear me out. What we're going to do is we're going to get all of these Americans addicted to like $5 t-shirts and McDonald's toys so that they won't be able to invade us anymore, right? They won't be able to threaten us with bombs, because at that point, China they were literally invaded by Japan. They had to deal with a civil war. And like Deng Xiaoping was like, I'm not having it. We're tired. Like, these wars, they're nonsense. It's not worth it. We keep getting killed by these random empires that keep trying to invade us. So we're going to protect ourselves from invasion from these Americans who are bombing everybody around the world by getting Americans addicted to McDonald's toys and $5 t-shirts. We'll embrace a little bit of capitalism, but it will always be subservient to the will of the people through, the government. Right. And that's what we're going to use to grow our economy, to take money out of their economy, put it into our economy, and invest in the people. And now you see Xi Jinping like building on what Deng Xiaoping had done. And look at China over the past 10 years in China, average wages have tripled tripled over the past 10 years. And minimum wage in the United States is still $7 an hour, right?
We financed that.
Ours went up 1,000. But to be fair to the U.S., though, since 1980, the average CEO pay has increased by 1,300%. So suck on that, China.
Well, think about the children.
So Ben, how you like me now?
I mean, look, if your joy is Jeff Bezos's joy, then congratulations, and I hope you really love America. And when you're living in a, when you're living in a studio apartment in Los Angeles that costs $5,000 a month, I just hope it makes you feel really good that Jeff Bezos has like 8 mansions,
Well, where is he supposed to live?
Yeah,
exactly.
$5,000 studio.
Yeah.
Dino Haas.
I already have this one, so he has nowhere to live. He has to buy the mansion because I live in this fucking shithole that costs me way too much money.
Absolutely. Dino Haas, thoughts?
I'm thinking, and I don't want to step on your toes out, but I'm thinking if Western civilization is the best, right? It's the end all be all. Why aren't we writing why aren't we using Roman numerals to write? I mean, if we're adopting, like we adopted like democracy we got from the Greeks or so, and it's so funny because this republic we call a democracy is starting to de-evolve into that because, at its core, democracy is generally whoever shouts the loudest wins. We put a bunch of representatives from a bunch of different places in one room and they shout at each other, and whoever has the stamina to stay on his feet and can shout the loudest, his point passes. And that's what we're de-evolving to. But I look at the base. I look at our numbers, and we write with Arabic numbers.
I was about to say, don't tell the right wingers about algebra.
Yeah.
Yeah, we literally stole science from the Egyptian. That's science. The field of study we got from the Egyptians. I mean, so it's this. If Western civilization is so dope, I mean, we would still be thinking that the sun was dragged across the sky by a chariot, and there's all these.
What? Wait,
I'm sorry, it's not.
Wait, yeah.
I'm sorry. Did I let
yeah, I mean, what? Get the fuck out of here with your conspiracy theories about round Earth.
He's a witch. He's a witch.
You round earther.
He's a warlock.
I'm calling my real dad Neil deGrasse Tyson. You just wait.
Oh my god! I actually love that you use that example because Western Europe, right? Western Europe was the only place that anybody had any inkling of a thought that that's possibly what things could have been, right? Like everywhere else in the world had like really good astronomers who were like, oh no, yeah, we're definitely moving around.
That is a fucking fantastic point.
Yeah.
You know what? That I have to tell you, I had never put those two facts together before.
Mm-hmm.
That is a fucking fantastic point.
It's 100% true. And what's funny is, people talk about Western civilization being the creme de la creme, and they like to tout the Greeks as their foundation for that, not realizing that the Greeks went to Egypt and sat at the feet of the Egyptians to learn philosophy and astronomy and all of these other things. And they didn't stay as long as they were supposed to stay to keep learning. They only stayed for, I think, 7 years or 77 years. No, they're supposed to stay for 77 years to learn. And they only stayed for 7. And they was like, fuck this, we out.
Nah, man, I got it.
They just grabbed the gold and left instead.
Notes. They got the cliff notes and was up out of there. But there was so much more that the Egyptians wanted to teach and were willing to teach. And that's the thing about melanated people. We're always willing to give of our knowledge, to share. And it ends up being turned against us. as melanated, as people of color in this world. You know,
Yeah.
that and it seems that a lot of non-melanated groups and civilizations, if you want to call them that, they plunder from the intelligences and the raw materials of melanated cultures for their own gain, and then demean those who they plunder.
Yeah, but what we did see, Ash, you're not giving us enough credit. So what we did see is we took everybody's shit, but what we made when we bowled it all together was like Doc Ock's fusion reactor from Spider-Man 2. And like we harnessed the power of all of these cultures, and only we did that. Of course.
Meanwhile, it's like that first fucking reactor from fucking Iron Man. It's sparks and shit jumping off of the shit. 15 people just got electrocuted. This shit ain't working right.
So let's see. Richard Harris here says, obviously, modern Western achievements rest on the work and discoveries of other civilizations, but you can't ignore what Western thinking has done in a very short period of time. Anybody want to take that one?
Yeah. What is?
What?
I mean,
what are you referring to, Richard?
Like,
to what do you refer?
And then I will say that Flow State brings up that the Bible talks about the firmament and the flat earth. So that is technically true. There was some Jews, I think Orthodox Jews, believed that for a long time. Hasidic Jews, if my memory is correct, did not believe in the flat earth, but Orthodox Jews did. So yeah, you got one other example outside of
I want to take Richard's point for 1 second. It's because let's look at Western.
I'll leave it up there for you so you can see it.
Oh, I got it.
All right.
let's look at Western civilization compared to the rest of the world. Okay, especially civilizations that they conquered. When these people were building things, they build things, they grow things. This is everywhere else in the world. They build things, they grow things, they
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was just reading what he wrote.
Yeah, I did.
I think he messed up on that. Yeah,
he knocked me off my point. But here's the thing: what did Western civilization really major in? What were they really good at? And I'm talking about at its foundations. What were they really good at?
Slavery.
They majored in war. They said we can't grow anything here. Like in England, when the land is rough and everything, we're with our bare minimum. We don't want to farm. We don't want to build. We major in building ships and killing people. So what we're going to do is we're going to go take your shit and make it ours. You know, like the Greeks, like Alexander the Great. Look at how many cities in the world are named Alexandria. He's like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread. They're expansionists. We're going to spread and we're going to take your stuff and make it ours. So if I take a great idea and calculus, you cannot give calculus to Western civilization. Mathematics is Egyptian, period. It's Egyptian, period. Saying calculus is Western, you're wrong. You just got to do some more research. But to take your thoughts, to take your way of thinking, to take your way of life and making it my own, you don't invent anything. You don't build anything. Stealing doesn't make you great. And what you've done with it, if you look at the United States, look at people who came up with fiber optic cords. It's a black woman. Look at the people if you look at these inventions that, even if I'm from Washington, D.C., a black slave laid out the plans for Washington, D.C., but it was attributed to someone else. So saying Western civilization did this, no, not really. But you're good at war. Now, don't get me wrong. If the United States ever needs something, or we ever owe somebody enough money, we'll just start a war with them so we can forget the money.
Don't give out that secret. You're not supposed to tell that secret.
Yeah, we're good. And it's funny, like when 9/11 happened, and people were like, oh my God, they attacked us on our soil. Oh my gosh. And there was this big thing. I'm like, dude, I was in the military. I'm going to explain something. You know how often we depose foreign leaders and blame it on somebody? You know how often we install
Never.
people around the world? Like we do this so much, it's not even a surprise to other people in the military or in the CIA or whatever. It's not even a big deal. Like the regular everyday citizen, like, no, that doesn't happen. Do we do it all the time? So they tried to do it to us. Okay, you know. And now, and then we enter a war that the military industrial complex won. All that war did these last 15 years is we tried to, and this is where we do innovate. I will say we innovate in ways to kill. We innovate in different ways to fight and kill.
I want to touch on because one of the things they mentioned was medicine. Now, computers, that's an easy dunk because like literally most of the computers that the United States has and revolutionized was literally stolen from like the Soviet Union, but that's like a whole other thing, right? Like I would look up line by line who actually won the space race. But like for medicine is where the United States gets really sadistic and evil, like super like, and I'll give you the background. I have a master's degree in biotechnology, right? I know a thing or two about how medicine is developed and discovered. Most of the revolutionary discoveries when it comes to medicine is literally, right, a bunch of Americans running around the world, like finding people in the middle of the rainforest, the middle of Africa, you name it, all over the place, asking people, hey, what are the traditional medicines you use? Oh, you use this? Oh, that's fantastic. Let's take this plant. Let's go back to the United States. We'll grind it into a pulp, put it under a microscope, figure out what it is, throw a patent on it. And then if you want access to it, now you have to buy it from us. And to make things even worse, right? You know, a lot of the testing for the vaccine, and not just the vaccine, but like a ton of other medicine that the United States does, right? This is how evil the United States is. Like let's lay it bare, okay? The United States will go to Central Africa. The United States will go to Central Africa, right? And in the middle of places where there's civil wars ongoing that are started by the United States and other Western powers like Belgium. Belgium really loves messing with politics in the middle of Central Africa, right? And basically say, if you want healthcare, you have to be our guinea pigs. We'll give you healthcare, right? We'll give you healthcare.
Right.
But we gotta test out all these drugs on you. And then when we test out all these drugs on you, if we find out that they work really well, we're going to sell them in the United States, and we're going to sell them at such high rates that you can't afford them. So the United States literally uses patents to refuse medicine to Africa, where the United States is testing these drugs. So if you have taken any type of pharmaceutical, if you've gotten vaccinated, right, you have to thank people in Africa who literally were the first line of actually testing a lot of the safety of these drugs, for you to get it and for them to not get it.
Yeah, the British, a couple of the British companies were literally broadcasting that they were out, hey, we need volunteers for our vaccine research. You know, that's not an anti-vax statement. It's just, but you know, when they're in the clinical trials, we don't know if the stuff that they actually did that testing on is what actually ended up becoming the vaccine or not, or if it was trial X341 that was scrapped because it didn't work. I want to just segue this off and we'll get off of this and get our guests back to their lives before we do the humidor. But the last thing I want to bring up is I know something Mikey will love talking about, and that is the issue of morality when it comes to Western civilization. What Ben Shapiro was talking about in the piece that I read was that there is a fundamental tie, essentially, I'm paraphrasing here, a fundamental tie between judeo-christian values, judeo-christian morals, and the ability to have a functioning government. Mikey, your thoughts on that?
Well, my favorite thing about implementing Judeo-Christian things is how we definitely don't mix our fabrics. I think that's a strong thing for a society. You can't do that. Shellfish, ban. Oh, wait, no, that's Levitical law. No, so stone the babies against the rocks. No, we don't do that. Like, none of it. It's all bullshit. It's all this fucking evangelical shit that they're coming up with, like, all after the fact. And then they're trying to, like, post hoc just, like, attach it to their religion because they think that it's part of their, like, cool kids club. It's not. It's a bunch of bullshit. It's a bunch of fucking brain control nonsense. And I'm glad to see that the numbers in the church are going down in a lot of ways. Like, if people want to have, like, their own spiritual thing and it, like, gives them some comfort, that's one thing. But as soon as you try to, like, legislate that, and as soon as you, like, try to attach any sort of morality to something that is so so tactile and so available and so easily proven to be some of the most barbaric and nasty shit ever. When you look at a person and say, you don't have a right to be alive and I need to kill you, that's not love, that's not peace, that's your own little fucking murder cult that you want to be associated with. Thank you, Tim. And I agree, Texas Church. And I think as far as Western civilization goes, it's despite judeo-christian values that it has thrived the way it has, not because of it. There is nothing about the values that are espoused by Christians that is directly responsible for the success / failures of Western civilizations.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback on that, and then we'll let Haas close us off with his last comment on this. There's a lot of good stuff in the Bible. There's a lot of bad stuff in the Bible. There's a lot of good stuff in the Quran. There's a lot of bad stuff in the Quran. There's a lot of good stuff in the Mahabharatas, in the story, the tales within the Mahabharata, and within Confucianism, and within Shinto. And within Hinduism, and within Sikhism. There's a lot of bad stuff within that too. A lot of culturalism and culture wars and nationalism and stuff like that. That is not uniquely American and is not uniquely Western. But the thing is that so it is very dishonest for us to take credit for stuff that as being unique when it's really not that unique. If you actually research different world cultures, you will find symmetry between cultures. You will find the same stories that are in the Bible in the Epic of Gilgamesh and many other ancient myths throughout history. And
so maybe they are tied closer together than I thought, because it's all about fucking stealing other people's shit and passing it off as your own. I wrote a book, it's patented, bitch, it's mine now.
Yeah, but Ben raises a very salient point about the fact about what happens with the medicine, because just because we got credit for it, if you look at what happened in the process, you have to be able to acknowledge, hey, you know what? Okay, this thing happened, and we should compensate. We did a lot of I'm trying to remember where exactly it was. We did a whole shit ton of testing on, I want to say it was in Taiwan or something like that. I'm probably getting it wrong, where it was 2 decades later before we finally went back and paid restitution to this country for, testing on these. I know what it was. It was for the nuclear tests that were run by Great Britain and the United States in the Northern African Peninsula, where we were, it wasn't medicine, it was nuclear tests. And they didn't know that they didn't realize that a couple of the bombs that they were, and Pakistan, by the way, did this as well. So there was a few countries in on this, but Pakistan did it in an area that affected India. The United States and Britain did it in areas, and France, I want to say as well, did it in areas that affected Northern Africa, and in the 30s and 40s. And by the time, and they didn't realize that what do they gauge it at in kilotons of, is that how I believe, or megatons? The
strength of the explosion.
Yeah, the strength. I'm trying to remember the specific word. There's a specific word for it that I know it's on the tip of my tongue. But the blast radius, the how far this mushroom cloud went from the epicenter of the explosion, they didn't realize that it was going to go quite as far as it did. So it ended up going into a lot of farming communities. Now, they learned a shit ton about the nuclear warheads and about how these bombs work, and the science for that was very, very, very valuable to these countries, because you have to detonate these bombs in order to know what you have in your arsenal. But it was, I think, 2 or 3 decades, I think it was the 80s or 90s, before they finally paid restitution to these Northern African tribes, because they had ended up killing people, and people were being born with, an extra leg, or their eyeballs are in the wrong place, just all types of terrible shit. So, but Haas, why don't you do me a favor and close us off with your final thoughts on Western values, and then we'll play one more game and we'll get out of here. You're on mute, Big House.
Unmute yourself, Big House.
There you go, you professional, you.
You got the button pushed.
Yeah.
There you go. You got to push the button.
All right, so I wanted to talk about. Well, first I want to talk about how we talked about the Bible and the Quran and the other uh, I guess written texts of organized religion. And what is the common thread there? You say there's good stuff and bad stuff. The common thread is they're all written by men. They're all written by humans. You know what I mean? And with each iteration of each text,
Yep.
what happens?
Turns out
Oh,
people suck.
those humans put their own little bit, their flavor and their spin on it. They, you know, like the original P. Diddy remix was the Bible. How many different versions of the Bible are there? You know what I mean? And each, when you go back and do the research, oh, this king was pro this and anti this, so we had to change this in the Bible. Or we had to remove this books altogether. The Catholic Church, what did they take out? What did they put in? And things of that nature. And so when we talk about Western civilization, um, and how there's a history of robbery and a history of just raping cultures for their intellectual property and their raw material property. And it's almost like what's Richard was talking about, oh, but this and this and this and that. And I would encourage Richard to go back and look at calculus pre-Newton, because it was the underpinnings of calculus were founded in
India.
melanated places before Sir Isaac Newton. So, don't just stop where you want to stop because it fits your narrative. But anyway, when we call it fruit of a poison tree, when we talk about these innovations, you stole from people, destroyed their culture, destroyed those people in many cases. What in the fuck do you think would have been developed and advanced and innovated if those cultures and those peoples had not been stunted by the thievery of Western civilization? Because you stole from the originators and copied. And yeah, you might have advanced it a little bit, but how much would the originators have advanced it more? Because they were the original developers. So when we talk about that, we gotta think about that. You gotta think about, hey, if you hadn't stolen the plans for the engine from the person who wrote them and made little tinkering improvements, what would the originator of those plans have done? He probably would have gone a lot further than you because you have limited knowledge.
Well, we found out back in November that it was actually the Eternals in the Marvel movie who actually made everything for us. So,
it took a long time to get there.
Yeah, we have to give credit.
It was Fastos. It was Fastos.
Yeah, so it was Fastos. So, but he was the black one, so they ignored it.
Hey, thanks for the spoiler alert, you fucking assholes. Shut up about fucking new shows.
It's not new.
It's 4 months
This movie's
old.
been out for a month.
Y'all are the worst. Y'all are the worst.
It's been on Disney.
I hate both of you.
It's been on Disney Plus for like
I can
4
never.
weeks.
I've been like binging every show possible
It's not a
to
show.
avoid spoilers from y'all. Y'all
It's not
just
a
tell
show.
me everything. Just tell me everything.
All right, we're
And
gonna
you could
play
have
a
just
game
used a
now.
Batman reference, right? Just on the Bane
Hey,
thing, right?
hey,
You think that
hey,
calculus
you.
is your
Hey,
friend.
Mike,
Ben, thank you. I appreciate
Hey,
you.
Mikey. Hey, Mikey.
What?
There is there's something about Fastos that we didn't tell you.
Yeah, we didn't tell you the big thing.
I
about
don't
Fastos.
want you to tell me.
You'll
that there's
find
a
out
twist.
later. All right.
Now I'll be thinking about the twist the whole time.
That
Stop
twist
telling me
is like
stuff.
a super minor thing in the movie. But anyway,
I don't want to hear that there's a thing at all. That's why I don't watch trailers. I don't.
talk to the waving man.
You'll never guess about Bruce Willis in The Sixth Sense. Now I'm gonna watch the movie, waiting for me to. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just fuck it up for me. You just fucking it up.
Talk to JR Jr. All right, now
put you behind stage so fast.
All right, so we're gonna play a game here with you two gentlemen as we switch the banner here as we close off the show. Now, after this, we will do a segment with Big Haas where he talks about his cigar. You guys are more than welcome to stay on and learn about cigar culture. And if you can't, or if you, I know you guys are, I believe, on the East Coast. We thank you for coming on. So we'll play a game with you. We'll find out about how the people can follow you.
Son talks about cigars. Fuck that shit.
Let's get to our game here. We're gonna play a game called Prank One, Marry One. Snap this before. We will give you 3 people. You will prank call one, you will marry one, and you will snap one away like Thanos. Not kill, but snap. Because as Mikey likes to say,
that is against terms of service, and we would never use the K word or the F word when dealing with real people.
Right. So let's start with our prehistoric friend, Dino. I'll let Big Haas go first here.
He always
Haas,
does that. It's not a surprise that you have me go first.
You like going first.
All right, I got you.
We're going friendly? Okay, let's go friendly.
I got you.
It's always friendly. No one likes the weird, nasty shit except you. You're the only one who votes for that.
Right.
So you're outvoted, Dutch. Give up. A super majority has decided that your nasty votes are done. We're done doing the nasty part.
For those who are wondering, we always have the debate of like whether or not, for example, if I should give you Laura Ingraham, Judge Jeannie, and make it hard for you to pick somebody evil, or whether or not we give you people we think you should like. I think it's more fun to have you sweat and choose between Judge Jeannie and Laura Ingraham.
And choose between beautiful people too.
Yeah, but you don't know what they think is beautiful. Anyway, go.
That's the game.
That's the game.
Okay.
Sanaa Lathan.
Ooh.
Okay, Sanaa Lathan. Is it Sanaa or Sana?
Sanaa.
Okay. All right. So we have.
All right, go ahead, Dutch. You up?
I'm blanking on her name from Creed and Valkyrie.
Tessa Thompson.
Tessa Thompson. Thank you.
I'm gonna go with the recently single Lisa Bonet.
Ooh.
Oh yes.
You pulled out a vet.
Yeah. All right, Dino, you have to prank one, marry one, snap one. Who are you going to prank, marry, and snap?
One of them will be gone forever.
I'll start with Mary. Lisa Bonet, of course. Like, come on now, she's just the right kind of crazy. Beautiful. I mean, it's. I know it's a lot of freaky things will be going on in the sheets, and she probably won't even mind my wife hanging out with us and going on vacations. My ex-wife hanging out, going she's down for whatever. So, yeah, snap one. Woo. Sanaa Lathan. She can go. Not the greatest fan. And Tessa Thompson, I guess I'll prank her.
Okay, so she gets a late night, midnight call from Dino.
I'm calling her right now.
Perfect. All right, and Dino, tell everyone. Well, actually, we'll do that in one sec. We'll do Ben first. Sorry, Ben.
Phrasing.
Let's see here. I'll go first, I guess, on this one. I'm sorry, I don't want to assume. You want me to just go with male or female? I don't like assuming.
I mean, female, I guess. Like,
or either.
With the last
doesn't matter.
three, I'll let you know. The last 3 people that you said, I have no idea who they are, so I'm scared that you're gonna list 3.
Should we go younger people than that? So you've never seen like Love and Basketball? You've never seen The Cosby Show, or who did you say, Dutch?
9.5 weeks.
Tessa Thompson.
Or Creed. She was in Creed. Okay, so we got to go. We got to think modern.
All right, and I'm sorry. Did you say I didn't hear what your answer was though to my question?
He said female. I guess
female. Okay. All right, so let's go with.
That's fucked up because I had a guy in mind. But anyway.
Okay, so let's go with. Yeah, we don't get to do guys that often, but we will.
We do.
No, we had the 2 ladies on last week. And we didn't do it.
Just
snap.
did it.
Oh, you did a snap one after my internet crashed? I didn't know you did.
I think so.
Okay. So I didn't remember hearing it when I edited. Okay. So let's do I will go with
Ooh, I gotta. I won't say that one.
I will go with
I'll put it this way.
Ilhan Omar.
Mikey.
Billie Eilish.
SZA.
I seen that look, Dino. She done thickened up. I thought.
Yeah, Billie Eilish. She was hot.
Like how?
I mean, Billie Eilish is only like 17, right? Prank Call is the only one that's...
No, she's like 20-something. I Google this. Let me double Google.
Yeah, make sure you're not getting them arrested.
Yeah. We don't want to change Ben's name to R.
We don't want to go into jail.
We don't want to be a R. Kelly.
Double check your sources.
I'm fairly certain.
Make sure you get her hair, Robert.
It's like a whole thing.
She's 20.
Eilish,
She's 20.
like,
She's 20. She's 20.
Okay,
I said SZA.
I don't know who that is. Who is that?
You don't know who SZA is?
Mm-mm.
Oh shit.
Try harder, Haas.
You can use a lifeline.
What's her name? I can't remember her name. She's a singer as well. Huh?
You can use a lifeline.
The singer Her. Are you familiar with her?
Mm-mm.
God bless.
That ain't rocking out to her. And
what, you trying to?
Why just Summer Walker? Why don't you?
Haas is always trying to grab somebody from obscurity. Go.
Yeah.
It's not obscurity if you know her motherfucking music, motherfucker.
But you gotta know the music. You gotta know the.
Hey, every time I said something, Dino was like, So don't tell me nothing about fucking obscurity.
Hey, check your phone, homie. I got your lifeline already hooked up for you.
All right,
phone a friend.
All right, hold on. Let me check now.
I think this is gonna put Ben between that rock and the hard place. And I think this is the sweat option.
Hello? Yeah.
Bro.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It's a text message.
All right.
Call it.
All right. I got it.
Oh, he's acting.
Lady Gaga.
Oh my god.
Knew you were a monster.
This is impossible. Right?
I knew you were a monster.
Like, I think all three of these people are fine, wonderful human beings. Like, I want to be very, very clear.
No,
right?
one of them's getting snapped, so we know how you really feel. Stop trying to weasel out of it. All right.
One of them's got to go forever.
Don't be prefacing.
Okay. Look, okay.
Or at least until Tony Stark comes around.
We're gonna start with Lady Gaga. Unfortunately, Lady Gaga is gonna be snapped, and here's why. Okay, here's why. Lady Gaga is older than Billie Eilish. Okay, she's lived more life, right? Like Billie Eilish.
That's a vet, brother.
Like,
sister.
Like, okay, I'm sorry, Lady Gaga has done a lot of amazing stuff. Billie Eilish has a whole career ahead of her, though.
Your biggest fan of Apollo. I don't feel so.
You
good.
ageist, you.
Yeah.
Ben
Billie Eilish
ageist Carollo.
Billie Eilish, like, definitely the prank phone call. Once again, Billie Eilish is 20, right? I am almost 10 years older than Billie Eilish. That would be really weird.
She has functioning cell service.
Wow.
Like prank call, and it would be a pleasant prank call. It wouldn't be like your refrigerator running, right? And then that leaves really one option for Ilhan Omar, but like I don't know. Ilhan Omar is doing really good work in Congress, right? Definitely not going to be not going to be the person to get Dino snapped, but like I don't know. Yeah, this is a very utilitarian calculus. I feel like.
Wait, so you're using the white man's invention of calculus?
Yeah,
no, I'm just kidding. All right. All right,
Western civilized world invented calculus.
Yes, we have.
There'd be no calculus if it wasn't for Pasty Man.
We have a win for me and a win for Mikey. So there we go. So, Dino, first and foremost, let people know where can they find you. Give us your socials and all your places that you can be.
Social security.
What else you got working on? Yeah, blood type, vaccine card, all that. We need your passport, all that stuff.
I want to start with one thing. America's unique, and I love America because we are the only country still dumb enough to use the imperial system of measurements. Well, us, Liberia, and Myanmar. But yeah, Dino More Films, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. That's where you find me, Dino More Films. There you go. Good. Now I got two O's in my
Except
name.
that
Come
you're
on,
missing an
dude.
O.
Shit. God, I saw it as soon as you started saying it. I was like, fuck.
You know what though? I love the fact that like now we have you on close up with the background. When you sit back a little bit, you look like Omar Epps a little bit with the with the
You
flat
got the
top.
ramen with the egg in it.
He's got that virtual flat top on top right there, looking
There
like
you
the
go.
90s. Coming straight out the 90s. Yeah, there you
Check out Breaking Barriers on Twitter Spaces. If you follow me on Twitter, Dino More Films, Breaking Barriers, we do it Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. And we're talking. We skipped a couple weeks because, I had to work.
Oh, that's what happened. Okay.
Making movies, baby. Gotta eat.
Gotta
But
eat.
we're back and we're talking on our next one about was integration a mistake in the United States?
Ooh, shit.
I expect an
Join
invite.
us, and it's a good, fun conversation, and respectful, and it's you'll learn a lot about people.
I have one closing remark for Dino. Dino, you need to Google because you said you're in Atlanta or you just in Georgia?
I'm in Atlanta.
Okay. I'm looking up here. There are in the greater Atlanta area, there's like 15 ramen houses. Do yourself a solid, spend the $20, get an authentic Japanese ramen bowl if you can find one. It will change your life forever.
They have keto friendly ramen now too. I'm looking forward to trying.
Like if you are a fan of ramen, having the OG with the pork belly.
I was in Japan, and I was at the time was doing war, so I only guarded some. But I see they buy them out of vending machines, and they say it's really good for some reason.
No, I'm talking about the big, stupid bowl, the udon noodles, the pork belly, the Naruto cakes, the seaweed, the sesame seed. It's an experience. If you can take heat, get it spicy. I'm talking about the best shit you will ever eat. It's every time it's like, what do you want for dinner? I don't know. What do you want? Oh, whatever. You can pick. All right, we're having ramen. God damn it. Every time I pick ramen, there's a ramen house down the street from me. Get yourself some authentic. It says Jinya Ramen has the highest rating. I was looking through them. It's a 4.7 on Yelp. I would go with that place.
Where's our money? They need to sponsor the show.
Yo, if they could just send me a bowl, if they can send me a tonkatsu bowl, it's fucking game over.
Also want to say, Ben, thanks for sharing this space with me. You're a heavyweight. I'm just a guy, and I thank you. I'm honored to be here with you.
I'm literally just some random person. Don't sweat it.
All right, and Ben, how can the folks find you? Give us all your jazz.
So you can find me at Benjamin Carollo on Twitter. You can also find me on TikTok, Bleep Blomp Ben. I'm also Bleep Blomp Ben on Twitch. And then you can find me on the Young Turks Twitch channel every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern time for my show Galaxy Brain. It's really great. We spend 2 hours really diving into like a litany of like different issues. And I guess I'm also on YouTube. I don't pay attention to YouTube as much, but I occasionally put some stuff there. So Bleep Blomp Ben on YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok, and then just at Benjamin Carollo on Twitter.
Can you spell out the Bleep Blop one?
Yeah, Bleep, B-L-E-E-P, Blomp, B-L-O-M-P, Ben, B-E-N. And I know it's kind of a mouthful. It's kind of ridiculous. Like there's like a whole story behind it. There's a whole story behind it.
Look, Ben, you can't do anything sexual innuendo on this show because Haas will jump on it 100% of the time.
Mikey jumps too.
He's like a 4-year-old.
Mikey jumps too.
Why are you dry snitching? What the hell?
Yeah, and a deflector at that. So
I'm not gonna take the brunt of.
Mikey Famine forgot his homework too, teacher.
That's right.
Damn.
The dog ate his homework too.
Yeah, so go follow both of these cats on Twitter. TikTok, Facebook, everywhere where you can find them. We'll put links in the show notes. Definitely, if you are new to this show, subscribe to the show, share the show. We will love it. Follow us on Twitter at Dig on America. If you are not following us on Twitter, you are a fucking piece of garbage, and you should be following us on Twitter.
Vinegar.
Right, and Dino just unsubscribed from the Twitter's feed as I said that.
I'm about to do that.
You can also check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/Dig on America. And once we get to $100 a month, which we are closing in on the door, a couple new patrons in the last couple weeks, you can get involved with what we're going to do there. We're going to give 1/3 of that money to charity, Doctors Without Borders, Autism Speaks, a couple of other great charities, the Homeboy Project, who helps ex-cons to find jobs. Those are all of the charities that we will be helping. And again, 1/3 of everything we bring in every month will go to charity. Once we hit that $100 goal, that will help us to buy Big Haas's cigars. And with that said, gentlemen, we will get into the humidor. So again, you guys are free to hang out or take off, whichever you want.
I would hang out. It's pretty funny.
As we promote tobacco. So music time.
My knowledge of cigars begins and ends at cigarillos. Used for...
That's most people.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna hop off though because it's midnight where I'm at, and I have like a very, very busy schedule.
No worries.
Yeah. I hope the cigar talk goes well.
All right, Ben.
No worries. We appreciate it, Ben. Thank you. So, Dino, thanks, brother, for joining us. It was fun. I can't wait to get in your next Twitter space. Any final thought?
Martin Luther King's birthday.
We've totally fucking glossed over that. Yeah, let's
typical white man.
Yeah, so no, it was on the agenda, but then we kind of went over on the Western. So yeah, get everybody there. Let's give it a minute and a half each on that. Dino, go ahead. Thank you for the reminder there.
It's okay. I'll say what I like about Dr. King. It's an amazing individual. He's a D9 brother of Haas. Damn
alphas.
He's exactly. But
what's up, Greek?
Did he just throw up a white power symbol?
Hey, even the damn blacks do it.
Is that Candace Owens over there? That must be one of the Hodge twins.
Lord, but I'll tell you, years ago, I was disappointed that they spent $120 million on his monument. And yeah, they broke the family off for like $880,000. But I'm from Washington, D.C. In Washington, D.C., there is not a Martin Luther King High School. And I just don't understand that. It baffles my mind why I went to Paul Laurence Dunbar High School, great school, used to be M Street School for Blacks.
Great oral.
Every teacher there, when it was founded, was a PhD. They all were doctors, all of their teachers, and people came from around the country to go to this school. I want that tradition to continue. I wanted there to be a Martin Luther King High School. Put that money into the school. If you want to build a monument, put his monument out front of that school and make it the most technologically advanced school. Pay the teachers more. Bring teachers that are innovating, that are breaking down barriers, and teach things not only academically, but let's bring back trades in schools that built the basis of Black America in the 60s. Bring back, let's let a kid graduate from high school as a mechanic or a welder or as an AC technician and things like that. Nursing. I mean, make it the school to end all schools. And then his tradition lives rather than going to see a monument that pigeons shit on. I mean, and that sounds a little bit harsh, but I mean, I like living monuments. I think he would have liked that as well. So if I could say anything to put anything out in the universe, That needs to happen. There needs to be a Martin Luther King High School, and it needs to be the best school on the planet. Rest in peace.
I don't think that I could say anything better. That was super good, but I'll just add this to white people: stop cherry picking his shit to suit your fucking conservative agendas.
That is such a great segue.
And number two, let's do this. Let's take some of these schools that were changing the names, like Robert E. Lee High School, where it's 99% white. Let's not only name black schools after Martin Luther King or John Lewis or whomever. Let's go to Savannah, Georgia, or wherever, Dallas, Texas, and rename some of these schools that need renaming Martin Luther King High School. Since you fucking conservatives love them so fucking much,
or Malcolm X High School.
That one they'll protest too much, But
or Haile Selassie High School.
But they love Martin Luther King supposedly so much. Let's see how they like that. Let's call the best schools in the district Martin Luther King instead of giving it to an underfunded school that you're like, oh well, this is a black neighborhood, so we'll call it Martin Luther King there. You have no problem with black kids going to Robert E. Lee High or Jefferson High or Lincoln High or Washington High or whatever. Let's rename a school Frederick Douglass High School or Martin Luther King High School and have it be in a 99% white area. Let's do that. And let's see, since
Sidney
they love
Poitier High School.
Sidney Poitier, rest in peace to. Oh, we've lost some people so far this year, man. Yeah. Bob Saget, Betty White, just like right before the year ended. So it's been a Sidney Poitier. It's been a rough start to the year, but yeah, let's do that. Since you guys love Frederick Douglass so much, and you love Martin Luther King, because those are the two you cherry pick the most.
Right.
Let's go to Naperville and rename Naperville North Frederick Douglass High School. Let's do that.
I'd love the protest for
because
that.
You can show me, because I would love to see the fucking comments. I'd love to see the fucking protest.
The quote unquote non-racist people all of a sudden don't want their high school name like that.
They'll say, "How come?" Well, you already have a Martin Luther King in Aurora. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, that's what I fucking thought. So,
Mikey, I want to go last if I can.
I only have 3 words. Poor People's Campaign. Google it.
Mm-hmm. The precursor.
Just Google the Poor People's Campaign, and then you'll understand why he got assassinated.
And exactly that, that's exactly right. Now, I wanted to go last so I could leave people with these 2 MLK quotes that people don't quote, that white people in particular don't quote. Okay. Jason Dutch School of Texas Barbecue. He's from Chicago, living in California.
Texas barbecue is a Russ joke. It's for frustrated atheists. As a joke about him.
So we all like Dutch was saying, we get a bunch of people, they love to, pull MLK out their ass when they want to try to silence or pacify people in times of strife, especially black people. But and we get a lot of people that are non-racist. I'm nice to everybody, so this isn't my issue, people. And I wanted to talk about 2 quotes. First one is, he who passively accepts evil is as much involved in it as he who helps to perpetrate it. He who accepts evil without protesting it is really cooperating with it. Now, I think that there are a lot of people that need to be aware of that MLK quote as they say, well, I'm nice to everybody, so that's not my thing. I don't need to speak out loudly and actively against X, Y, or Z because I'm nice to everybody. Okay. And then also, in regard to those folks who detest property destruction of riots. And well, why do you have to destroy, this property? This is people's property. Da 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 da. Even though the riot is often in protest of a life being snuffed out. Here's a great quote. Property is intended to serve life, and no matter how much we surround it with rights and respect, it has no personal being. It is part of the earth. Man walks on it. It is not man. Martin Luther King. So when we talk about people just trying to dismiss the substance of an issue because a store got vandalized or a building got burned, but they don't have that same energy when the life is snuffed out. That quote speaks volumes to those people. People often have more energy towards the destruction of property that occurs after the unjust destruction of a life than the destruction of the life itself. And I think that's what Martin was speaking toward. So I think those are two things that in this time when we reflect upon Martin Luther King Jr. and what his efforts were, some of those things, those two quotes would be great for people to ponder. I'm not even going to get into his comments on guns and the next phase of the movement after the Civil Rights Act and the Voters' Rights Acts were passed that probably got him assassinated.
No, go ahead and get into it.
Well, we were talking about the Poor People's Campaign, and we were talking about economic empowerment now. And it's just, they got to a point where they're like, okay, y'all can vote and we'll do civil rights. But then when you start talking about economic empowerment and financial equality and things of that nature, he had to go. And for those of you, for the uninitiated, the FBI was sued and was found culpable in his death. So don't get it twisted.
All right, Mikey.
What I did mine.
Oh, that's right. All right. Well, you can close us out.
And you already said my thing for earlier, so go to Patreon, y'all. And until next time, we'll see you later. Goodbye.
Thank you, Dino.
Thanks, Dino.
Thanks, Dino.
Aha.